Hi there, I'm Ben Morton and welcome to the Leaders Kitbag, your go-to podcast for practical leadership insights in just 6 minutes. In each episode, we tackle real challenges faced by leaders and managers, offering actionable tools and strategies you can take away and immediately apply. And because leadership doesn't happen in a studio, these episodes are mostly recorded outside on the move. They're raw, unscripted, and straight to the point. So, wherever you are, let's dive in and sharpen your leadership skills 6 minutes at a time. Throughout my career, I've seen leaders respond to pressure in very different ways. There are some who appear to grip the plan even more tightly when things start to change. And you even see this reflected, or hear this reflected rather, in their language when they say things like hold tight or hold fast. And then there is another group who seem to thrive on going totally off script when things change. And to the uninformed observer, it might even seem as though these leaders are totally winging it. Now, I've always found this fascinating and been curious about why leaders can respond to pressure in such different ways. And it's only recently that I'm starting to understand some of the behavioural preferences or wiring that's going on in our brains that causes leaders to respond in very different ways. And that is exactly what we're talking about in today's episode of the Leaders Kitbag. As I said, it's only now that I'm really starting to understand how some of our behavioural preferences or mental wiring, if you like, can affect our leadership reflexes. And one that I'm finding particularly fascinating is our time orientation. There are some people who are more of what we call a through-time leader. These people will often feel safest when there is a clear, structured plan. When the pressure builds, they will double down on structure. They'll push harder towards the timelines, and they may struggle to adapt and be flexible when that is what the situation really demands of them. And then there are what we call in-time leaders. By contrast, these people often feel most alive and energized when things are fluid and changing and seemingly falling apart around them. When things do start to fall apart, they will often improvise well, and they excel at being able to do the very next most important thing. And here's one of the most interesting and important things around our time orientation preferences. And it's that neither is good or bad, neither is better or worse per se. And even more than that, this isn't about capability. You see, we can all do both. Even a through-time person can operate in times of uncertainty and be flexible. And the in-time people, despite loving flexibility and freedom, can plan and create structure. It really is about understanding our preference and some of our habitual behaviours, how we might initially respond and react to situations. And like anything, we can learn new behaviours. We can become more aware of some of the blind spots that our preference might have. And to that end, I've got one simple challenge for those through-time leaders and for the in-time leaders that you can go away and practice and try using over the coming days and months. So if you are more of a through-time person, someone who sees time laid out in front of you and really does thrive, excel and feel energized by planning, I challenge you to try letting go of a plan from time to time, being slightly less structured and planned, or maybe even go with a minimal viable plan. And then for the in-time people amongst you, your challenge is to try and build and develop a response plan. What I mean by that is, what are some of the immediate actions you can think about now that you might implement when things suddenly start falling apart or the unexpected happens? I'm encouraging you to try and build a plan. That's it for this week's episode of the Leaders Kitbag. As always, I hope it's been really beneficial to you. Remember, look after yourself, look after those you've got the privilege and responsibility to lead. And until next time, lead on.